Hey everybody, my name is Lisa and I am the face, the voice and the hands behind 1121 Windmills, and today I am bringing you week 3 of the beginner windmill spin along. I'm so excited to be back again this week. I can't even tell you how much fun I've been having doing the spin along with all of you lovely people. It's been such a great event so far. People are spinning and joining in from all around the world, and I couldn't be happier about the level of interaction and engagement everybody is having with each other, making new friends and learning a new craft with a community. So that whole concept has been something I was quite nervous about going into the spin along, but I'm really excited with how things are going so far. If you're new to the spin along, you can absolutely still join in, and it's not too late to start. If you are finding us halfway through and you think you can't join in, you definitely can. What I would recommend you do is you go check out my YouTube channel and watch those first 2 videos, because they are the introductory tutorials to get you started on spinning with a drop spindle if you've never ever touched one before and you've never ever drafted fibre before and turned it into yarn. So that's a really good place to start. If you are back again as a returning spin along participant, I am so thrilled that you're here. Welcome back. Thank you for coming again. I honestly, I don't even know what to say. I couldn't be happier that you're here joining me again. So if you missed the first 2 episodes and want to know what we've covered so far, I talked about the basics of fibre, how to draft fibres and how to spin on your spindle basically. We also did a method called park and draft, and that was in week 1 of the spin along. Week 2 of the spin along was all about turning ourselves from park and draft spinners to free spinners, where we can spin our spindle and let it just spin by itself while our hands are busy drafting away, creating beautiful yarn. So if you need to catch up on any of those techniques, the videos are always going to be there on my YouTube channel, so you can skip back and have a look. Don't forget to join in the conversations on Instagram. So if you're participating and you feel like sharing a post or 2 about your spinning progress, there is absolutely no bob and shame in this community. Everybody is loving everything that we're all doing, and people are coming at it from all levels of skill and ability, and everyone is welcome. But if you are sharing, please make sure that you use the hashtag, because that way we can find your beautiful spinning posts and that I can share it in my appreciation posts and my stories that I've been doing throughout the whole spin along. It's been really lovely to see everybody contributing their spinning basically. I just love it, and I hope you love that I've been sharing it. And if you're feeling a bit extra, you can tag me as well, and then I'll absolutely not miss your post. So I would hate for anyone to think that I didn't include them in my stories or something like that. I would rather put people up there twice, which I think I've done a few times because I forgot that I shared it and then I shared it again. So I would rather put you up twice than forget to put you up at all, or totally miss you because there was no tag or there was no hashtag. This week is all about plying yarns. Now, when you're spinning, you absolutely don't have to ply your yarns. You might have spun something and you're just really happy with it how it is, and you're going to leave it as what we call a single ply. So that means you've just done 1 thread of twist and that's it. If you have ever knit with a single ply yarn before, they just have a different quality and appearance. They are structurally a little bit softer, maybe not as robust as a plied yarn. Plying gives the yarn strength, and it gives it a little bit of a different character as well. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go have a look in your stash, or have a little Google and just say single ply yarns. So there are plenty of single ply yarns that are commercially produced, and you often see them used for things that don't get a lot of hard wear and tear. In my early days of knitting, I accidentally used a single ply yarn on some heel contrasts of some socks, and they were for my daughter and they got worn through very, very quickly. So I guess I learned the hard way that single ply yarn is not really for hard wear and tear. You tend to see single ply yarns used mainly for things like shawls or scarves or sort of light wearing garments that don't tend to get a lot of hard knocks and things like that. You probably wouldn't use a single ply on socks, lesson learned, or something that's going to get a lot of like rubbing, I suppose. It's probably easier to see on something that's really, really chunky. So I wanted to show you a single ply that's a really, really chunky, bulky weight yarn. And it's one of my favorites. It's Malabrigo Rasta. And it's just delicious. Look at that. You can see how chunky it is there. And it's absolutely just yummy, yummy scrumptious. The colors are beautiful. It's hand dyed and it's a really, really thick, bulky weight, single ply yarn. And it always depends on what you want to use your yarn for, whether or not you ply it. For the sake of learning the technique though, we are going to ply some yarns together. So plying is when you take two yarns and you twist them together. I've spun up a bunch of singles. Look at that. This is my quartz blend. This is 2 Rolags, by the way, that I got off on here. And I've spun it thick and thin. I did that intentionally because I wanted it to be a little bit different textured. I didn't want to be too fussy about how I spun it. I just wanted to have fun. And then I also have another spin that I've done. This is from a bat that I started last time. This is the Forest Fairies. And again, I just spun it thick and thin just because I wanted to have fun. I didn't want to think too hard or concentrate too hard. And while I'm showing that off to you, I'm going to show off my spindles that I'm prototyping. That these are laser cut and then I just paint them. So that's something that I've been working on and I'm so excited to share them when they're ready. But that's not the point of what I'm talking about. What I need to do is I need to get the yarn off my spindle and onto something that I can then ply it back onto my spindle, because I have about 6 spindles now. Now I've started making some, I have a bunch. It's like Spindle City over here. But you probably only have one. Like, you have to take it off before you ply it, basically, because you have to ply it onto the spindle. You can't ply it any other way. So what I said to you last week is that you should try and collect some loo rolls. And I keep them, not every single one of them, but I keep about half of them, just because I want them for crafts and they're handy for spinning. And if you're new to spinning, you probably don't have any kind of bobbin or equipment or other thing. And everybody has toilet rolls, so they're just around and it's easy for you to get your hands on them. So what I do with my loo rolls is I just get my scissors. We're doing like some proper little crafts here. But I just put a little snip in the bottom of it, just like that, just to make a little notch that I can put my thread in. And I'll start with the quartz because I love it. I just pop my yarn into that little slit that I cut, just like that. There. And the tail end we can just pop to the inside. Whoops, down we go. There, tuck that out of the way like that. And then we can just start wrapping the yarn onto the spindle. Okay, one thing I'm being careful to do is I'm not turning around the spindle. That will add or reduce twist in your yarn if you try to rotate the spindle around. If you can, try to do it so that they wrap around each other like this, so that they both stay parallel. That will make sure that you're not inadvertently adding or removing any twist from your hand spun. So I do this kind of, I don't know, I guess it's like a windmill action. Okay, that's done. Oh, wow. What a workout. Oh my gosh. All right. I definitely have more of the forest fairies than I do of the quartz. I'm predicting that when I ply them together, I'm going to be ending up with some of this forest fairies left over. That's okay. So whatever. I'm just going to ply them together and see what happens. One of the things that would be really, really helpful to you if you can get something together is something called a lazy Kate. It's kind of a stand for your bobbins. I have like a lazy Kate that came with my e-spinner when I bought that this year, but before that I didn't have anything that was really similar or useful, and I didn't want to go and spend a lot of money on anything. So I made kind of a makeshift lazy Kate from a shoebox, and I'll show you how I did it. This is it here. It's a little shoebox because it's from one of my kids' pairs of shoes. So if you have a little shoebox like this, or any sort of similar size cardboard box, or even like those laundry baskets, you know, they're plastic, but they have the holes in the side of them that you can fit like a knitting needle through, that would be fine too. What you just need is that the width of it should be enough to fit your toilet roll in, so that you can slip that in there and it's not going to be a problem. So this is the lazy Kate that I made to use with the bobbins from my nano e-spinner, and so I actually still keep my e-spinner bobbins in there, but I poked 3 holes through one side and I kind of missed on the other side. I did 3 and then I did a 4th one. But the idea of that is that I can get a knitting needle and I can shove it through from one side to the other, and my toilet roll can go onto it and it'll just hold it in place so it doesn't go flying all over the place while you're trying to spin. So that's just going to sit in there like that. It's probably not a bad idea if the direction of the yarn is coming off in the same direction. So just like that, whether or not the paper comes over the top or it comes from underneath, you know, the loo paper in your bathroom. So if you're an over the top person or an under the bottom person. Oh my gosh. Okay. Just make sure they're both going on the same side. So here we go. I've got my knitting needle going through. There we go. So I've got my 2 bobbins sitting in the box. The yarn is going over the top. I don't know if that's going to tell you some deep psychological information about me, but there's the forest fairies and there's the quartz, and they're both coming off in the same direction. You can just sit the box somewhere on the floor nearby where you're spinning, and it holds your bobbins of yarn. It's so neat and so organized, and this literally cost me like a pair of my child's shoes. And away you go, you've got yourself a lazy Kate. So hooray. So it's literally just sitting on the floor next to me, and I've got my 2 yarns coming up here, my singles that I made from before, and I am ready to start plying. So now you have to think and remember, what direction did you spin your yarns in? Because if you started spinning them clockwise, then now to do your plying, you're going to spin counterclockwise. So in my videos for part 1 and 2, I was encouraging everyone to spin their singles clockwise. So you spin counterclockwise to ply them. But if you didn't do that, if you spun your singles counterclockwise, then now you have to go the other way. So whatever you did before, you're going in the opposite direction. Mine was spun clockwise, so I'm going to ply them counterclockwise. So I'm just going to put my yarn through the leader loop, just like I've done before. And this time I'm going to spin counterclockwise. It may feel a little bit backwards at first when you are just getting your hands around it, but as you do it, you'll just see the yarns coming together. So you can see, I wanted to do 2 different colored ones so you could see a little bit, well, that's the start of the leader there, so that's holding on to itself. How much twist are you getting? Okay, and then we just wind it on little by little. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, I think I just literally broke one of my plies. I broke my forest fairies off. I think I had a bit that was too thin. So you can see that it's coming up to about there. they're so thin, I'm sorry, it's a bit hard to see, but there's the top of the forest fairies just there. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of twist in so that those two bits get plied together. So I'm just going to line up the broken end with where the last end was, just like that there, but the bottom of it is coming down just there. Oops, wrong way. I'm so used to spinning that way. And as I just add a little bit of twist, it's just catching on. One of the things I found with plying is that it is actually quite hard to get it to be balanced nicely. You have to apply some kind of tension so that you're pulling them off the loo rolls at the same rate, equally. You know, for this kind of yarn that I'm doing, it's kind of more arty. So I did do thick and thin on purpose because it is very forgiving when you try to ply if you're plying and it's slightly off balanced. By off balanced, I mean that one yarn is twisting around the other one more, and the other one has less twist around the first one. When they're balanced, they're twisting around each other equally. So when you see commercial yarns that have been plied, they are perfect because a machine has done it at a very, very consistent rate. You're not a machine, so you have to try and control that level of consistency yourself with your hands. And your hands are still learning how to do it, so it's going to take some time and practice to get it right. But one thing that I've tried to do is I've tried to hold my yarns separately, and I try to hold my fingers around them, and then I cup the back of them with my hand and my little fingers like that. So that's how I'm holding them when they come through. And I'm keeping the pressure on the back end here with my pinky and my, what is that, the ring finger? Oh yes, it's got my rings on it. Ha ha ha. So when I ply, I can pull it through, and this tension here is hopefully keeping my yarns kind of balanced. That's the technique that I've sort of found to be most successful when I've been doing it. Yeah, okay. I've done this one off balance. The white one in the middle is actually spinning more around the green yarn, so that's not balanced in that section. Over here, where they're spinning around each other, and it's a little bit more even. Okay, so here you can see that the white yarn is wrapping around the green yarn in that middle section. So that's slightly off balance. If you compare it to this section here, the two yarns are a bit more evenly spaced around each other. So that is a little bit more balanced than this section here, where you can see that the white is wrapping around the green. So there, we're just pulling that together and allowing the twist to go up into the two fibers together. Okay, so if you find that you're getting sections that are not balanced, like this one is very much leaning towards the white, you can do a bit of a park and fix. So I just pull the yarns back on each other and then just let them come back together again and see if that helps. So there. You can also do, you can also do a bit more of a manual spin. So like I'm just gonna spin this by hand rather than letting it spin in the air. And while I'm spinning it by hand, I'm just letting the yarns slip through my fingers. So that's probably a bit more of a controlled way of doing it, so that you can get more of your hands around the yarn to make it a bit better balanced. But it is obviously a more time consuming method. and not as fun, I think. But you could have a go at it if you wanted to. Just like that. See, my fingers are just there. And as I'm spinning, turning the spindle in my right hand and letting the yarns come through in my left hand. So that's another option, but obviously, like I said, more time consuming. So that's what it is about plying. So the things to remember are to spin in the opposite direction of where your singles were spun. To try and keep tension on the yarns while you're pulling them off your bobbins with your fingers, okay? Because that'll help create balanced yarn. There are some really, really cool effects that you can achieve, art yarn effects, that are created absolutely with the intention of being unbalanced. This yarn that I did here has these features in it that are called bobbles or beehives. So that is achieved during plying when you got my little eyes poking out. Hello. Okay, so those little things there, those are achieved during plying where you purposefully do it off balanced. Wow. Well, I've finished plying up my 2 yarns together, and as predicted, I had way more of the forest fairies than I did of the quartz crystal. So I have about this much left over from my forest fairies. It's probably enough that I could ply it back on itself and have a separate ball of yarn that I could do something little with. But look at what I've got here. I plied together those 2 yarns, and I'm having a really I'm having a bit of a green obsession, but it is just looking so pretty. The colors are just so awesome, and really, really happy with how that turned out. So that's kind of it for this week. All I want you to do is finish spinning your singles and then have a go at plying something together. What we're hoping to get to for next week is having some kind of plied yarn that you can then use to make something. If you're not keen on plying your hand spun yarn and you just want to use it as singles, maybe you've spun something that's nice and thick and you just want it to be like a bit like a Malabrigo Rasta kind of single ply chunky yarn, and you don't want to ply it, that's fine too. But yeah, let's get ourselves to a place where we have some finished yarn that we can start making something with next week. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat down below, or come and find me on Instagram and have a chat with me over there. Have a wonderful week, everybody. I can't wait to see how you go with your plying, and just have loads and loads of fun doing it. Okay, bye.